All right. So welcome everybody
Billy has a goatee.
to our Arkana integration mastermind. Good to see everybody. What's going on there, Melissa? Come on, share. What was,
I didn't realize I was unmuted. We noticed that Billy had a goatee. It's been a while.
I was about to say, who's the facial hair guy next to you?
This is my dashing husband.
Is this like a trend? I almost
Well,
feel
look
like I
at his
need to start
hair
growing facial
too.
hair.
He's like been growing it out. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Awakening and miracles looks good on you.
That's it, brother. It's the
So
opening.
I just want to welcome everybody. And this is one of the first times in a while that both Valeria and Billy are like here and seem to have solid internet connections. Where are you guys? To what do we owe the internet connection?
Well, I'm in Albania this time,
Of course.
so I'm not anymore in India. So I guess it's a bit better here.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so whenever I go to India, I typically go to Albania right after. It's just a common thing. That's awesome. And Billy, where are you?
England.
England. Wow. All right. So there's a lot of new stuff going on. So I want to welcome everybody. It's great to see you on Memorial Day weekend in the States, which I wonder what that means elsewhere. Looks like Nick is floating on his back on a beach. That looks very nice. So as you guys know, about once a month we meet for this integration mastermind, and just as a preface to it, it kind of just sits very, very nicely with the Arkana's mission, to really facilitate transformation and change for people in this very, very confusing world. I'm sure you guys have met many people that, experience plant medicine and find themselves confused after that. Arkana really wants to go the extra mile. And, there was a conversation between Billy and Jose, and I was there just about like, hey, how can we level up the integration process? And a lot has changed since then. I don't even know right now how long we've been doing this, but we've been meeting on a regular basis. And since then, we have integration coaches, right, led by Valeria. Apparently, they're stationed in Albania, the integration coaches for Arkana. But it's just really about leveling up the support, the community, the awakening, and all of that stuff. Because my first experience, and I don't, is Jose going to be with us today, Billy, or you're not sure?
I hope so. I just messaged him.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say about Jose, and if everybody could turn their video on, it would be awesome, just so we can see your great faces. This is not one of those environments where you have to have great hair and makeup and things like that, but unless you're indisposed right now. But I just remember hearing, because I was confused about that, like what would I do with this experience when I came home? And I just remember Jose just remarking about like how most of the work was actually outside of ceremony when we came home in this integration process. And they provided a great platform, which you can always go remind yourself if you go to the Arkana website, go through the P's of integration, which I don't know if anybody here needed to hear that, but I know that I spoke to one of my great friends that went on one of the ceremony or retreats with me, and they had not looked at their integration document since they were there. Isn't that interesting? It's like we kind of think we know it, and then we find ourselves like struggling out in the real world. If you just go read through that document again, it's just a great, you know, practice in integration. So in any case, that's what this is. This is a place where we can kind of come home to Arkana, allow other people to come experience, not only learn about plant medicine, find out about Arkana, but also experience what we've all come to love so much, and that's the community. Think about how much time at ceremony you spent with each other. So we continue to do that. So I'm going to stimulate, a little bit of a conversation here. Today we're going to talk about expecting miracles. Is everybody here like okay with a miracle happening? Is anybody adverse to a miracle? Would anybody here, did anybody here wake up and say, I prefer no miracles today, right? So we're in the right room. But what you're going to find out is that the miracle is actually already happening, right? We're gonna have a fun conversation and relate it. I'm gonna make an attempt today to correlate plant medicine with A Course in Miracles. Does anybody know about the book A Course in Miracles? Has anyone ever heard of it? Yeah? Anybody ever read it? It's a big book. Veronica says yes. Awesome. So very, very interesting correlation. So let me get started with that so we can have an interaction. So first of all, once again, for those of you that just showed, I'm going to say, welcome to my miracle-minded family, right? I just put that on you. So if you've sat with medicine, and when we say medicine, in case somebody's here for the first time, that could be ayahuasca, bufo, San Pedro, mushrooms, you already know what I'm about to say. And that's what's interesting about miracles and plant medicine is I didn't go on my retreat. And my intention was not to find a miracle. I found a miracle as a side effect. So for those of you that have sat with medicine and experienced that, you already know that reality is not necessarily what you thought it was.
Mhm.
Isn't that an interesting starting point? And you also now know, and you learned that you are far more intuitive, connected, and amazing than you had previously believed, which, by the way, can be scary, right? Our biggest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure, right? Anybody experience the overwhelm of like having that experience? I remember that's what it was like for me. I remember the first time with medicine, a couple of people next to me kept telling me to shut up because I just kept on yelling like, holy fuck, So I know what that's like. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of anchor into this truth that all of us, and this is where miracles come from, all of us are not just someone hoping for a miracle, right? We're actually the space through which miracles happen and are actually happening right now as we speak. And now. And now. Right? So miracles are not happening on the outside as most of us, when we expect a miracle, very often it's just about getting out of the way of it, which I think is cool. And which that's the correlation. So for any of you that have never heard about A Course in Miracles, it was written by a woman named Dr. Helen Schucman, I think. And she was a psychologist from Columbia. And I just want you to know that, like, if you read the book, she makes reference to information that she received. She calls it Jesus, but it's interesting because it's not the Jesus that you know. She just used that name and God as what we might call the divine, higher power. So if you ever hear those words come through and you don't resonate with them, just you can call it whatever you want. But the course presents itself kind of like a self-study in spiritual psychology, and it aims to guide, this is the Course in Miracles, it aims to guide individuals towards inner peace through the practice of forgiveness, and here it is, the undoing of the ego-based perception. For those of you that were here for the conversation that we had on ego death, right? We talked about this, the undoing, the unraveling, the hey, take a lunch break, ego, so that other things can happen. So that's an interesting part. So it's kind of like a detox of the mind. If you go through it, I highly recommend it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful like daily read that you could have. And that's an undoing of like the false and making room for the real. Okay. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just share, there's 365 lessons. Do you guys have enough time for that? No. That was a laugh like no effing way, JC. Because Billy knows, like, oh Jesus, is he going to do all 365? No, we're going to do the first 10, and you guys can play as much. So here's the first. And by the way, I will share this document I created with Billy, and he can put it in the description so you don't have to take notes. Just be present. So the first is that nothing I see means anything. So that's an acceptance. Most psychological suffering in general comes from the illusion of separateness. Think about what you were like before, right? That your experience is separate from everyone and everything. But in ceremony, illusions dissolve, don't they? You might come out and say, "Oh man, I just saw some crazy stuff." But what you saw was behind your illusion. Illusions dissolve, and what you thought was real prior begins to lose its meaning and validity. And as the great philosopher Billy says, it's pure love. Has anyone ever heard Billy refer to somebody as pure love? That's what he'll say. He'll say, like, that guy is pure love, right? So that's somebody that's unveiled, right? So lesson two, I have given everything that I see all of the meaning that it has for me. Woohoo! I have given everything that I see all of the meaning that it has for me. So grandmother, right? We all have the same grandmother. Anybody realize that? So grandmother shows us that the world didn't happen the way we think it did, but our stories about it made it happen that way. I learned that from plant medicine. So when I read that, I was like, wow. So lesson three, I do not understand anything that I see. That's a tough one for you to say because, we were taught what you see is what you get. But what we realize when we see something further with plant medicine is that, yes, what we see is what we get, but not necessarily what is. Would anybody here, and you can raise your hand or put a one in the chat, identify that after your first experience with plant medicine, you realize there's more than you thought. There's more to life than you thought. Almost like augmented reality, right? Oh, I didn't know about all those things. I mean, I had a conversation with a 1 foot tall man for about an hour before I realized that it was a 1 foot tall man, right? And he was there, 100%. So number four, these thoughts do not mean anything. This is a very powerful insight. These thoughts don't mean anything. So when we commune with something higher, right, when Billy talks about the divine, it's one thing to look at it as an outside thing, but when you commune with it, the loop of overthinking begins to become silenced. So our conditioned minds are placed on pause, lunch break, when working with medicine. Think about that for a second. When you're in the medicine, part of why it's such an extraordinary event is you're kind of like your judgment of it is kind of elsewhere. So we have no opinion of what we see and are allowed to see it as it is. And that's because you recognize that the thoughts in your head, all 40 to 70,000 of them every day, right, don't mean anything. So lesson five, I am never upset for the reason that I think. Guys, this is about unveiling the miracle. So triggers are teachers, we learn. Medicine brings buried wounds to the surface. So if something's buried, it means that you don't see it. So whatever you're upset about, it's typically not the reason that you thought you were upset. Something else. So lesson six, I am upset because I see what is not there. Think about that for a second. If you ever are frustrated, angry, or concerned, worried, it's almost inevitably attached to something that's out of your control. Think about that the next time you feel that way. We learn that most of our pain is a reaction to an illusion that we created, not the truth. Plant medicine unveils the truth behind the illusion. Almost there. I see only the past. Lesson 7. Memory filters and persuades every moment until we learn to see through it and experience the present moment. Did anybody realize that when you were in Sapo or ayahuasca, it's happening in that moment? Most of life is happening in the past or the future before that. So, lesson 8, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. So, the medicine guides us nicely to the unfiltered, pure here and now. Very similar. Lesson 9, I see nothing as it is now. I see nothing as it is now. These are the Course in Miracles. Your partnership with medicine is actually a miracle. It's not the medicine, right? Your partnership with, because of what it does with you. The miracle is not in changing things, but in seeing clearly for the first time, which very often is too much for somebody. It's much easier to hide in life. Okay, almost there. Lesson 10. My thoughts do not mean anything. Some of you just got pissed off, right? What are you talking about? My thoughts don't mean anything. Well, you get to choose, right? But you can expect a miracle when you realize that your thoughts are not the voice of the divine. Let me read that one more time. You can expect a miracle once you realize that your thoughts are not the voice of the divine. The divine's message is simple and purposeful when you hear it. It's not complicated. That's why I always loved hanging around with Billy. It's like he doesn't talk as much as me. He just says something like one word, and you go, ah. So I have to learn to be more like Billy. Think about this. The divine's message is simple and personal. It does not have 40 to 70,000 ideas. That's the way your brain works. We're processing that many ideas. That's not the divine, right? It doesn't have 40 to 70,000 ideas to have with your brain. Your brain does. You are not your thoughts. You are pure love. Okay. So a lot of other stuff in here, but here's what I want to do now. I want to pass it. And I don't know if Billy or Valeria want to say something first, but the question that I want to have, oh, here's just a fun quote. Miracles are actually natural. When they do not occur is when you know something is wrong. I love that. Okay, so the question that I was thinking was, where in your life can you now see that you're waiting for a miracle instead of being one? JC out for a little while. This would be the this is your captain speaking. This is the moment where you can undo your seatbelts and be interactive. Regina, did you want to say something?
For now, I'm just listening.
Okay. I love when somebody unmutes and they go, no, it's kind of like a fake. Billy?
To be honest, I was just enjoying listening also. And you told us not to make notes, and I was making notes because there's some really interesting perspectives in there. So I'll offer my notes and then everybody else pitch in. Which was the first part is the idea of like what the CSCs is seen. And I could get into like a whole meditation I did about Egypt and how they were at a golden age of consciousness, which is why they're able to see and produce a civilization, which is probably beyond what we've realized now. But because they could see it, because they had a level of consciousness where they could see something, and then their dream manifests itself in the cosmic field. So it came from the consciousness and then it manifests into the field just because the dream was so great and um the consciousness was so expansive, limitless, and boundless. So they could create way beyond what we can even create now. And so I was thinking about that's to go beyond the limited life or the confines of the current boundaries within your life. You need to be able to see beyond, to elevate yourself to a higher state of consciousness where you become the limitless, boundless consciousness that you can see from and then create from. And obviously, I mean, proven what you would consider high frequency characteristics, and you can prove this scientifically, is, for example, gratitude, love, and compassion, kindness. So really, it's like, I mean, you are the miracle. So be the miracle that you are, the boundless and limitless, and then within that access or bring into your life the characteristics of high vibrational consciousness so that you can see and expand beyond where you are to achieve what you want, etc. And also, I also made a note about a story, which is a story about, it's basically a conversation between God and a vole. I'm sure there are variations of this story. It's that God wants to hide the key to life, all the answers to life, the knowledge of life, and so he says, "Where do you think I should hide it?" And the vole says, "Hide it in the ocean, because the ocean's deep; they won't find it." And God says, "Humans explore; they'll dive the oceans and they'll find the key. Eventually, they'll find the keys to life." So the vole says, "How about the mountains? The mountains are high; they'll never reach there." And God says, "Eventually, they'll explore the mountains." And he says, "How about the Antarctic, deep in the snow, bury it deep in the snow?" And eventually God says, "I know exactly where I'll hide it. I'll hide it in themselves. In So you are that you seek already, and you are the miracle you seek. That's the whole point, right? It's like that's why I love that miracles are actually natural. And when you don't see them, it's actually because you're not in alignment with your natural state of being. So then you have to ask yourself, like, how do I realign myself to my natural state as the child of the cosmos and the miracle that I am? Um, yeah, and that ties with the last point, or 2 points about one medicine, which is, what is it? The medicine. The medicine is an expression of Divine Mother teaching you. So it's like you're being taught by the divine so that you can see beyond, to expand and evolve, grow, transcend. And last note, these are all just notes, so it doesn't make any sense what I'm saying. The last note was about, it's a jnana, it's a story from Vedanta about the rope and the snake, which you might have heard. A man walks down the path in the dark, and he comes across what he thinks is a snake, turns around, and he runs home. And he leaves in the morning, he returns down the same path, and he sees that the thing that he thought was the snake was actually a piece of rope. And the idea is, when you're living in the darkness, in the illusions, then you fear what isn't to be feared. And when you are in the light of your own being, you see reality just as it is, as this infinite love, this infinite field of oneness. So those are the notes I made. Thank you, JC. That was
I love
beautiful.
it.
And yeah.
I'm the kind of guy that doesn't listen to rules about notes either. But I actually took notes on your notes. You know, what's interesting, you said something about higher frequency. There's another example of something that the illusion is that we have to acquire or achieve, build a higher frequency. But what we're entertaining is that the higher frequency is something that just need to be allowed. Isn't that interesting? It just like a miracle, right? There's a higher frequency in all of us if we allow it. And I would assume Valeria, who's deeply entrenched in so many amazing practices and energies, that require a lot of effort, you know, can you say something to that, Valeria? Just the idea of releasing and allowing something to channel through you or be expressed as well. I mean, more of a headspace than the practice. What is that like in yoga?
Yeah, actually, already before, one thing came into my mind is that it is very hard to experience miracles and see them without having a connection with the divine, some kind of. So we need to first have that experience, whether it's through breath work, whether it's through plant medicine, or whatever it is for you. So I still remember the time when I didn't have that any kind of connection to the God, to the divine, to anything light. So the God shows up to us in different ways, in different forms. And I was thinking that life, why this is happening to me, why? A lot of questions and never seeing that this is happening for me so that I can evolve and learn and to become that better person for myself and see that divine within me, like Billy said. It's essentially there somewhere deep inside. And what we need to do is to remember. And then again, how we remember is the tools. So whether it's like first you come to a plant medicine ceremony, and that's for most people the first connection to the divine. And after that, when they go into the world, if they still keep remembering, they will be able to see the miracles. But if they forget when they go back and they don't do the integration, and that's when it happens that maybe we don't see again the miracles, right? So then what we can do when we go back home is exactly like Kriya Yoga, breathing techniques, meditation. There are so many tools that can help us to stay on that frequency and that vibration where we're able to vibrate on the same level where the miracles just start. They don't start happening more, but we are more receptive to them. We see them because someone next to me might be not practicing or having any kind of, let's say, to someone who hasn't had these experiences, and they might be there. The same thing happened, but they see it from a different perspective, right? They don't see the miracle. They see, oh my God, why is this happening to me? So that's when it's really important to find a tool, find a way that keeps us on that um, vibration. And I have one tool that is very amazing. It's called Tiny Little Miracles. So whenever these miracles happen, whenever something small, you thought about that, I don't know, you thought about that thing that you wanted, the little Buddha to put on your table, let's say, but you couldn't find it anywhere. And as soon as you started, like you wrote it somewhere in a notebook, I want to buy this Buddha, and suddenly you started seeing them everywhere. So when that happens to you, you take your notes on the phone and start writing, okay, today, this is what I experienced, and I found what I needed. Then another miracle happens to you. You start writing them every day, and before the bed, you read them through. And once you do this every day, you will start seeing that the miracles are actually everywhere around you. So that's it's kind of also like a gratitude practice, but from a different perspective. And I found it amazing because that's how you train yourself to actually notice those little miracles. Yeah.
It's interesting as well because miracles are like, what are miracles? Like miracles, you might say like, oh, if this comes, like if I achieve this, or if something appears, or like I manifest this, which are all possible and they are all miracles. But it's also just like, isn't your breath a miracle? Like the capacity to take in something, this air, which sustains your life, right? That's a miracle. If that miracle didn't exist, none of us would exist. The miracle that you plant a seed and a tree grows, that's a miracle. The miracle that your heart beats, that you have feet to walk or hands to write. Like these are miracles. Miracles aren't just some grand, oh, God came down, or that's the miracle. It's like the family, like having your family around you, having people you love around you, having a community, the possibility to connect, the computers connect from. Like, is a miracle everywhere, all day, everywhere.
Yeah, that's so fascinating because once you start thinking like that, and you know, I want to make this relevant for people that are in the integration process. For those of you that are on the outside looking in at and you're feeling called to plant medicine and Arkana, this would probably just be like, hey, cool, you know, like that's the kind of work that I didn't know that I would get that too. Um, but what's interesting is if you listen to what Billy just said, is you actually can make a decision, a conscious decision to see everything as a miracle, right? Anytime you want, you know, good, bad, evil, right? Here's an interesting, I love playing in the mystical and augmented reality plane, but I also like science. So I'm going to give you a little bit of science about plant medicine right now. If there's any scientists out there. What I love about scientists is scientists don't care about being right. Like they just want to know what's more right. So this is about consciousness and awareness. That's a miracle in itself. I mean, if you look at like a slug, you know, the great minds think that a worm or a slug has some level of consciousness, but it might be just a reaction to pressure or knowing which way to move. But human beings, you know, we're pretty tapped into this field of consciousness, and it's a miracle. But I just want to relate to plant medicine. So we know that only a very small fraction of our brain, and that's our prefrontal cortex, is consciously accessible, right? And what I mean by consciously accessible is that you can say, I'm going to access this part of my brain. There's only a very small part of your brain. Most of the decisions that are made in your brain come from what's called a default mode network. That's your subconscious, right? Your amygdala, your limbic system. So what's interesting about your thoughts and your feelings, if you dive into that, prior to plant medicine is that you think that you're thinking, but your thoughts have been determined by the lower levels of your brain anyway. So that's why I wear this hat and it says, I say that with everything that I see, which means I haven't made up my mind. So let's talk about this default mode network. During plant medicine, when you guys are experiencing plant medicine, and this comes out of studies out of the Imperial College of London, so you can look this up. It shows that while you're experiencing plant medicine, they show enhanced default mode network deactivation. Now, I don't know if you understand what that means, but what that means is your regularly scheduled program, your conditioned mind, the part of your thoughts that you don't decide on, when you're in the medicine, they become deactivated, which allows access to like what was this say? Transpersonal insight. So when you guys have these deep thoughts, like, wow, I made this insight, it's because the protective default mode network was decreased. Now, Valeria was talking about there's different modes of doing that. You know, I went deep into transcendental meditation and Silva mind control, and like I've learned how to go to that place that I found in medicine, right? So isn't that interesting that you're having those deep thoughts, not because the medicine showed them to you, it's because the things that prevent you from seeing them went away. So the miracle is happening. It's in you. You're a miracle. Run through the streets today and be like, I'm a miracle. See how long that lasts. Um, who else? I'd love to hear from somebody else that has something they want to. Frank, I knew it was Frank. I saw a lot of head nodding with Frank. Go for it, Frank. And then we'll go to the couple.
Yeah, it's so good to see you guys again. It's been a couple months since I've been on here, but um, yeah, I think one of the great things that the plant medicine actually opened up to me was a great benefit that I had prior to, and that was I was induced in a coma for 10 days. And so since then, after that, that was about 7 years ago. After that, though, my short-term memory was pretty much wiped out. So I remembered everything up to that point. But then after that, short-term memories, it's slowly come back now. But what's the benefit is that I don't dwell upon things. So my mind is very open and free. And I don't think about bad things from yesterday and the worries and troublesomes and all that stuff. And it really freed my mind open. And I didn't realize how open and freeing that was until after the plant medicine. Because after that, then I realized that what the plant medicine opened up was something I already had that I didn't realize. And then I don't know, it's just a strange way of getting about. And I'm sorry if I'm just rambling on, but you might want to try a coma every now and then. And it kind of relieves a lot of pressure from your thoughts and worries from the days before, and just lets you live in today, man. And that's what I try and do, and it's really, really blessing. About it, man.
You
Good to
are.
see you guys again too.
You're delightful and funny. I'm pretty sure that we met you here a week before your first mission or retreat, right? Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know if anybody
yeah.
remembers that. There's a lot of science to what you're saying. There's a woman named Jill Bolte Taylor who's actually credited for having the first viral TED talk. She was on my podcast as a guest. But this is a woman that had the left side of her brain, which is the analytical part of her brain, the left side of her brain, she had a hemorrhage and she lost full control of it. So she was operating with only her right side of the brain, which is very much tapped into when you're in the medicine. So she only, okay, there you go. Go listen to that podcast episode with her. It's fantastic. Or look her up, Jill Bolte Taylor. Stroke of Insight. That's right. That's funny. I'm talking to Frank and he's got the book. So just imagine what the world would look like if you only knew that we're all connected and we're just this ball of energy that is just flowing and beautiful and everything. Well, you know what that's like, right? Because your default network is primarily left-brained, right? So we're not recommend Arkana does not, we'll say this for Jose. Arkana does not suggest that you have a stroke or, that's not what we're saying. But it was a good analogy. So, Melissa?
Hey everyone. Good to see y'all. I'll chime in for a second. You see me? Oh, there we go. Cool. Yeah, so I could touch on a lot here, man. You mentioned a few things. There's Egypt, interesting correlation in the miracles, but Egypt's on a cycle, a cyclical resonation with humanity right now. A lot of us are connecting back with Egypt, and if anybody gets into studying things that are transpiring through all this, it really correlates with the miracles and with the power that we're tapping into, and remembering, yeah, this cycle, and plant medicine opens us up. So, like you said in the beginning, JC, the medicine has kind of evolved for me through my journeys over the last couple of years. I still hear circles of people speaking and like, okay, so afterwards, what did the medicine give you? What did you get from it? What is happening? You're receiving, but it's actually the evolving of releasing what you're holding on to that's blocked, from receiving. It's not, the medicine is a relationship. Of course, we're revering it, but what it allows is the vessel to align and start remembering what the miracles are. And then as you start living, and if you integrate all this and you start living through your life opened up and seeing the powers and the understanding that you always had, this is when the miracles start transpiring. you start seeing all the daily life miracles and the rituals bring them in, and then you start working in that and working into harnessing it and controlling it, and it all comes from your own mind and heart. And yeah, I just wanted to chime in on that. So love y'all. Gotta get back to class.
He's going into his studies. He's
Yeah, I'm working with Dr. Ibrahim Karim on the biogeometry work. It's fascinating. It comes from Egypt mystery schools. So,
whole nother realm of magic. So
love y'all. Good
he's
to see
off
you,
to do
Billy.
that work. Anyway, thanks for letting us share. I don't really have a whole lot to add right now. I'm doing a lot of integration work myself, so I'm just here to receive, and maybe on the next call I'll be able to give you guys some insight. But
Oddly enough, I remember speaking to you guys a couple of weeks before that's when I met
oh
you.
yeah.
And you guys have changed quite a bit. You're still as amazing as ever. Valeria, did you want to say something? You look like you just kind of.
No, I'm just like Egypt. I got very excited because Billy knows I've been talking to him about Egypt, and there's been a lot of people now in my field and also from my training and stuff. Yeah, I would love to talk about that with you, Melissa, and
We're
yeah,
going back in September. We were there a few months back and we did a lot of activations, and anyway, there's a lot of things. So yeah,
yeah,
we can talk.
yes,
I was there.
yes.
I was there in November. I was there in November and spent some time in the King's Chamber and actually in the sarcophagus. Meditated down in there. So that was pretty cool. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Spent
the
extra
plant
time in the
medicine
Queen's
really.
Chamber. Everybody wants to rush to the King's Chamber, and I was like, no, I felt called to the Queen's Chamber, and me and other
Oh,
sister queens just resonated. Yeah, it was incredible.
it's
But
interesting. Yeah, yeah. The Queen's Chamber was interesting. The King's Chamber was definitely drawn for me, and the harmonics in there were incredible, and the vibrating sounds, and the bent pyramid was kind of cool too. But Egypt is just fascinating.
I want to go.
Yes, and
I want to go in the
if you,
chambers that are below that pyramid.
yeah,
The what?
there is a. Sorry, we're all talking on top of each other. I wanted to say that there's in the hieroglyphs, you can see a lot of mushrooms. So the plant medicine is very related to Egypt as well. So that's why I'm very excited about that. Maybe we can do
And the iris,
Arkana Egypt
the
trip one day.
they did the blue iris too. I think was medicinal for them in Egypt, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you that are not into this kind of thing, I mean, obviously Egypt is on our minds, but they've just identified that below. Yeah, I mean, if it's interesting to think about like alternate alien forms and higher powers and stuff like that. As my dad would say, Billy was talking about where God would hide something, right, inside of us. But what they're realizing now is that there's vast chambers that go deep into the earth below the pyramids, right? And that's not like a theory. They don't know what's in there yet. So anyway, let's get back on
No,
track.
but
Oh,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
bring this back to integration, but keeping it on the thing of Egypt.
Well, do you want to tie integration to Egypt, or do you want to go back on
Yeah,
the?
yeah, exactly. So basically, I don't like you guys might be familiar with the flower of life symbol, and these concepts come from Egypt. And basically, I can't remember. It's called like I'd have to look. It's called like bioenergetic engineering or something, or bioengineering dynamics. I'll find it. Um, and basically, what they were able to do, like through their knowledge of existence between energy, frequency, and vibration, they would build in a way where they would reflect vibration and amplify vibration. There's books on this. It's absolutely fascinating. And basically, when you do this, for example, if you have like a small holding, if you have a farm, and you build in certain ways and certain basically different mathematical proportions, you amplify the natural energy that exists in the space. And what they found is, for example, if you plant fruit, like in one of these places which is designed in this way, the fruit grows fuller and it's more nutrient dense. And this works with everything. So you can basically alter based on the mathematical proportions of space in time. You can basically alter and elevate the vibration and frequency of the space, which is obviously they knew because these pyramids are all obviously aligned in certain geometrical and mathematical proportions in alignment with stars, etc., which we don't need to get into. The point is bringing this into integration. Obviously, this is all fascinating, which is if you what they're doing is like is attuning, so aligning that the construct that in a way where naturally just by being in that attuned into that space time, so into that present, it amplifies the energy frequency and vibration, and then obviously um into a state where things expand and become boundless, right? And why I'm bringing that into the integration is aligning and attuning. So when you attune yourself like in harmony with the laws, I mean, like you could look at laws mathematically, you can look at laws in intellectually, like in literature. And when you attune yourself to these laws, you also amplify your own being and your own environment. So this is a very long way of saying like, or a weird way of saying, to infuse Egypt into it, is like basically align yourself into the harmony of to synchronize yourself in and harmonize yourself with the natural order of things. And as you do that, you will naturally amplify and elevate your energetic state. So, and Valeria's talked about this before, and that takes daily practice. Like she uses an instrument as an example. JC will know this as a harp player. It comes to, you have to tune it every time you play it. You have to tune instruments constantly. And so it's not like a, right, I go to plant medicine, now I see all this, receive all these lessons, downloads, and insights, and now I'm healed and I am everything, which you are. It's not like you go to yoga class and you're like, oh, I'm a I'm a yogi enlightened, which you also are. It's about embodying and being that and then becoming it through the daily practice, the devotion, the consistency, the dedication, and attuning yourself daily to the state of being that you want to be so that you become that just in your being. Okay.
I just want to add just quick little thing that, and it also doesn't need to be just the yoga or like any practice. It can be just tuning into the sun, into the elements, walking on the grass, something very simple, but it's going to impact your life in a big, big way. So if you are not into yoga, if you're not into breath work, just go outside, sit 20 minutes with the sun and really just feel the gratitude towards the sun, towards how much light it gives, how much energy it gives to everything to grow so that we have food. It can be as simple as that. So yeah, I'm not gonna speak too much. JC, go ahead.
I love so many aspects of it. It's just so funny how we just went off on an Egypt, trip here. Like if anybody wants to take us somewhere else, we can do that as well. But what's interesting about the work that everybody is doing is like if you go to Egypt and you go into one of these caverns and you have this experience, all we're really going to discover is that which we already are, right? If somebody wants to like really play with a strong shift, this is some really good shift. Just go on YouTube if you haven't already and go search up, watch the video called The Egg, the story of the egg. Anybody seen that? Oh, perfect. So basically, the lesson you'll learn is that we're not separate from one another. Everything that you discover, you're just uncovering something that which already is. right? It's just even entertaining that idea. So that's what's funny is we still, even in this highly aware and conscious group, find ourselves seeking things elsewhere rather than looking inside, you know? But sometimes we do need to go through process, use medicine or practice and stuff. But, the truly enlightened person already is, you know? Um, super, super cool.
I will echo that as well. I am furthering my exploration and stuff, and last March I went and I joined a Cheyenne Nation and participated in a sweat lodge, and that was very interesting. And I had very similarities with ayahuasca. I had some visions. I was like, wow, and I was really surprised that that comparison was there in a sweat lodge, but it was
Hmm.
very interesting.
Yeah. We Arkana has, that integrated into some of their trips, by the way. So just to get us back on track, I just want to share something else. And I'm going to give Billy this document, and there's a bunch of other cool stuff here. Um, so we often think that miracles are something like we've been talking about that are out there, right? That we need to earn, wait for, or beg the universe to deliver, right? We're going to pray for it. Please give this to me from the outside, right? You're going to always wonder, whatever it is that you pray to, the higher power, if you actually had a talk with that person, they would probably give you some Billy-like insight. You know, it's that it already is. You woke up this morning with the breath, so you have everything, right? So the medicine, just like the Course in Miracles, reminds us this is what we have to do. Sometimes we forget, which means that we just need to be reminded. I feel like the medicine reminded me of something that I forgot. So it reminds us that the miracle is not a thing. It's a shift maybe in your perception. We don't think of miracles like that. It's the undoing of fear and the return, as Billy would say, to love. It's the acceptance that this moment, this breath, this you is what we would call the divine. It's not somewhere else, right? So you came here, and you enter environments expecting a miracle, like you came with this topic today, because your soul, this is really cool. Your soul knew something. That's the feeling. Your soul knew something that the ego was unaware of. Isn't that the problem? That our ego is just simply unaware of things. And if we're handing the keys of trust to our conditioned mind and our ego, of course we're going to struggle. So what I experienced and the blessing that I had with Arkana, and by the way, my retreat partner, Adam, we're this close to deciding where we're going to go back this year. We're going to go to one of these trips. So if anybody's kind of looking for a trip, stay tuned. But the reason why we'll go back is because we know there's more, right? It would be silly for us to think that we figured it all out. But that's what I got is I realized what I had forgotten. I got a reminder, and I hope that happens for some of you today. I want to give you, and then I'm going to just turn it over to Billy to see if there's any updates or anything that we should know as we come to the end. And happy Memorial Day to anybody that celebrates that. I'm going to put in the thread here just a very simple daily practice that you can do that plays with this idea of what you're now going to allow. So there it is. So this is a daily practice. Speak your miracle into being, right? So you would say, the miracle I now allow is. And it's different to just talk about a miracle than to talk about it in a sense of that you're going to allow it, because that is your reminder that it already is. So that's a fun daily practice that doesn't require any coursework or I always think about when I took I don't practice yoga, you know, nearly as much as I probably should, but I remember I took Valeria's class and I just realized, I mean, I do CrossFit. I'm pretty physically fit, but like I realized that I don't know nothing about fitness when I took her class, and just to watch her smiling while she's doing something that's killing me just maybe realize that there's another place, right? So that's something I want to go to. So Billy, Valeria, is there anything, you know, we have maybe some guests here, anything anybody needs to know about upcoming trips, changes in Arkana, integration coaching, anything like that?
Um, just before, I just want to make a comment on something you said, which is there's always more. Because there's always more, but there's actually not. There is, and there's actually not, in the sense that there's always more. There's more knowledge, there's more money, there's more people, there's more air, there's more, there's always more. There's just more and more, which is wonderful because that's the boundless and limitless. That is the nature of the infinite. It's infinite, right? So there is always more. It's always expanding. But there's actually not, because ultimately it all comes down to this love, right? So it's so simple because there's always more, but there's actually not. Like, what are you actually searching for? What you're searching for is more peace, more passion, more compassion, more more kindness, just more love. I mean, is an umbrella, right? So, and there are many lessons and many layers and many experiences for us to experience that through, to learn from, to grow from, to return to the love that we're searching for. So there is always more, and there is more and more, but there's actually not more than what you are already. And you just need to know it, find it. And these are some beautiful practices. The practice Valeria gave and the practice that JC just gave um, are beautiful. And we'll post the the 10 the 10 principles he spoke of at the beginning as well, because they're also really beautiful. And also I would also recommend finding a practice where you can go on pilgrimage to this place of so Frank said obviously about being now, because this is where you're going to find it. You're going to find it right now, the only place where anything ever can be. It can't be over there, and it can't be back then. It can only be now. So you're only going to find it now. So the practice that I would offer is to this is almost in one of the P's of integration, and it's a pilgrimage, and it's basically to to create a space in your house like an altar, to find a practice, whether that's yoga or meditation. Just even if you do it for half an hour in the morning, go to this place, do this practice, and just be now with the miracle of your breath. Enjoy your breath, the miracle of your breath. Like, enjoy your breath. I always say enjoy your breath is enjoy your life, because your breath is the life. So just being in this life, being in this body, being in your form, being in your being the miracle you are. So that's the practice that I'm going to offer. In terms of upcoming things, we have Valeria and I are going to Mexico next week to Valle de Bravo. We have a Bufo retreat and then mushroom and peyote retreat in Valle de Bravo, which is beautiful. You guys will probably see a lot of that because I'm going to be posting lots. And I also have a friend coming who's going to be filming stuff for YouTube and things.
Are those trips full or there's any spots?
There's space, I think. I think so. In one of the, I don't know, you'd have to check. Um, they're close to full, but there may be. I'm not sure. Um, and then obviously I'll definitely be going to the Amazon nearly until the end of the year, until we return to Mexico and Yucatan, where obviously we work with peyote and mushrooms, which I love. And everybody has a different medicine that they resonate with. Different medicines work in different ways. All of them are just helping us to do what JC said, which is uncover. And what does uncover mean? It to take off the cover. So you're taking off to see what's there, and all these medicines help us to uncover, to reconnect with this miracle, this divine essence that we are. And obviously, like, I love peyote and mushrooms. I think that they're more gentle than ayahuasca. Ariel, for those of you who know Ariel says ayahuasca is like he says peyote is like a hug from your grandfather, and ayahuasca psh, psh. So they're beautiful medicines to work with if you have an interest in working with them. Hey Joe. Joe knows all about Mexico. What's up?
What's up?
So we'll be back there at the end of the year. Otherwise, we'll be in the jungle, and those retreats will be as normal. And I'll pass it over to Valeria. Thank you all for coming. This is so beautiful. I've enjoyed this as much as, I don't know if you've enjoyed it, but I've enjoyed it.
I want to make sure, Billy, and hopefully Valeria can do this. If somebody's looking for extra support, how would they reach out? Maybe Valeria, you can talk about that for coaching.
Yes, I was about to add. So now, not only through, when we go now to Mexico, we're going to be offering for the first time packages for the integration coaching. And that's also for you guys, even if you're not going now for the retreat, if you have anything that you would like to learn or get help with, like getting that integration in, or having some kind of daily practice, or setting up an altar, having some kind of breath work, a little session every morning. So you can reach out to me. If you don't have my number, you can reach out to Billy. He will connect. So I help with all that. We can do that online. And yeah, anything related to integration and anything that you may struggle with. So just know that there is a way, and there is, I can help you, Billy can help you, we can all help you out. And what we're doing now in the retreats more is to starting the integration already in the retreat, so that when you go home, it's not, what I'm going to do now. Like now I'm all alone and without the tools, but you already get some tools in the retreat so that you maybe remember, some of the things. And when you get back home, it's really great to keep practicing those. So yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I also have now a Reiki certification, and I'll be also providing therapies in the retreats, which I'm very, very happy about, because that's also a form of a miracle, because your body, your hands becomes the tool for the universal energy to come through you. So all that Reiki is just the trust and surrender to divine, that it heals you and takes care of you. So I believe that Reiki is very, very beautiful form of healing as well. And it's very relaxing. It's not like ayahuasca releasing all the time. So that's also available. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Yeah.
Somebody just really quickly is so just to explain that as well, is because so I went to study in the Himalayas with Valeria's guru, and we're integrate. We basically studied Himalayan Korea, and what we're doing which is yoga in totality. It's breath, it's asana, it's bhakti. It's all of it. It's not just one. It's all of them. And plant medicines reconnect you to what you are, right? Yourself. But then to stay in that, you need to learn to align with yourself. And the reason why we're integrating this in Arkana in many, many different ways, I actually also have two of the teachers I trained with coming in June to the Amazon. We're going to start doing this as well with Bufo, like to integrate Bufo before and after. But these practices are basically so like use something outside of yourself, like plant medicine, to reconnect, to rediscover, and then use yourself to keep that connection and that discovery, and then to walk that path naturally. And these practices that she'll offer, I obviously went, bearing in mind I've obviously done this for a long time. I've sat in countless ceremonies. I can't